There's a rich kid in our dorm, Landon Shaw. He's the type who throws money at every problem. Need someone to take notes for you? $50. Need a sub for a class? 100. Today, though, he posted something new in the dorm's WhatsApp group. He needed someone to run the time mile for him and P.E. The price, $1,000. My older brother, Jason, has a serious chip on his shoulder about guys like Landon. He despises the rich and had forbidden me from taking any of Landon's offers. But this is the same Jason, so high and mighty. The moment he graduated, pressured me to work 4 jobs to help him pay for an engagement ring and a down payment on a condo. Also, he could look like a self-made man for his wealthy girlfriend. In my first life, when I was in the hospital, dying with no money for treatment, he and my parents told me they didn't owe me a thing. I died with nothing but hatred for them. Then I opened my eyes. I was back in my dorm room the day before the P.E. final. Landon's message popped up on my phone. $1,000 for the mile. Who wants it? I replied instantly. I'm in. Jason, seeing my screen, was furious. Are you kidding me? You're going to be his little dog for a paycheck? Have some self-respect. I just smiled. Can't pay rent with self-respect, can I? I didn't just accept. I sent a follow-up message to Landon with a string of those goofy bowing emojis. Jason stared at me. What the hell is wrong with you? You look like a damn servant. He usually pays 50, maybe $100. You better make sure he didn't accidentally add an extra zero. Besides, look at the guy. All that family money, and he's built like a string bean. His reaction was identical to my first life. He was convinced there was no way Landon would pay that much. But having lived this before, I knew the real story. Landon's father had just had a massive heart attack, forcing Landon to take over the family's multi-billion-dollar corporation. Buried under business management courses and board meetings, the last thing he cared about was school. $1,000 was pocket change to make a problem disappear. I also knew that this wasn't a one-time thing. From now on, his offers were only going to get bigger. Jason had envied Landon from the day they met, because Landon was living the life Jason dreamed of. In my first life, he'd grabbed my arm and said, David, we're here to get an education. We may be poor, but we have our pride. I believe that crap. Then, after graduation, he crafted this persona of a young, ambitious professional for his rich girlfriend. To avoid looking like he was marrying for money, he convinced our whole family to drain their savings to get him a nice car, a down payment, and a designer watch. He even hit me up for cash to buy her lavish gifts. Eventually, he and my parents were pushing me to take out high-interest payday loans. The day Jason and his fiancée had their huge, extravagant wedding, surrounded by friends and family, I was lying in a cold hospital bed, waiting for money for a life-saving procedure that never came. Your family isn't answering their phones, the nurse had said, her face full of pity. You should probably check out. I died on the night of my family's greatest celebration. Now, facing Jason's threatening glare, I didn't hesitate. I sent one more message to Landon. Guaranteed pass. Jason looked at me as if I were a complete stranger. David Miller, what the hell happened to you? Did you get body snatched? I never realized you were so obsessed with money, Jason said, his face a mask of disgust and confusion. I gave a faint smile. Maybe I just woke up. He crossed his arms. I think you just have a low price. You saw $1,000 and your principles went out the window. Just think about it. Our monthly allowance combined is only $800. Right, I shot back. $800 that mom and dad sent to your bank account, of which I'm lucky to see $250. In my past life, I'd swallowed that injustice without a word. Ever since I was old enough to understand, my parents had drilled it into me. Brothers are a team, and you always listen to your older brother. Jason's face flushed. He was silent for a moment before trying a new tactic. He's probably just testing you. He'll offer $1,000, but only pay you $50 after you do it. See if you're a pushover he can use all semester. That'd be fine too, I said. Even at $50 a pop, if I do a few of those, my allowance will finally be the same as yours. He was so angry he was sputtering. You turn on your own brother for a little cash? Don't come crying to me when he screws you over. Thanks for the warning, bro. Furious, Jason stormed out, slamming the door behind him. He was just mad because he couldn't believe Landon would actually pay. Last time, when another student took the job and pocketed the cash, Jason's eyes had nearly bugged out of his head. I couldn't wait to see his face when he saw me get the money. A moment later, Landon added me to a private chat and a notification popped up on my phone. Venmo. Landon Shaw sent you $300. The message read, here's the deposit. He followed up, don't worry about the P.E. Coach, when he calls my name, you just get up. I shot up in my bed like a spring. You got it, boss. From now on, your business is my business. Reborn, the most important thing was to avoid toxic people and latch onto a golden opportunity. The next day, the heat was brutal, easily 100 degrees on the track. When the coach called out, "Landon Shaw," I started to stand up. Jason grabbed my arm. "Are you serious? The guy hasn't even been on campus for a week. Who are you going to get the rest of the money from when you're done? He won't stiff me. He already paid the deposit." Jason scoffed. "Running your own mile and then is in this heat? You really are the perfect little servant." I glanced at him. "You're laying on pretty thick. You're not actually worried about me, are you, Jason?" He froze. I pressed on. "If you're so concerned, how about you go buy me a bottle of ice-cold Gatorade?" A few other students overheard and turned to look at Jason. Seeing he had no intention of moving, they started whispering. "Wow, I thought he was actually looking out for his brother. Guess it's just jealousy. He's probably just mad his brother has the guts to do it. He's too proud to take the offer, so he doesn't want anyone else to either. What a jerk. Can't even spot him a couple bucks for a drink, but he's got plenty of time to run his mouth." Jason's face turned beet red. After the run, I was drenched, sweat pouring down my legs. I was desperately thirsty. Suddenly, an ice-cold bottle of water appeared in front of me. It was a lifesaver, but before I could take it, Jason slapped it out of the person's hand, sending it spilling across the hot asphalt. I stared at the puddle, speechless, the sweat dripping into my eyes. I was even more surprised to see who had offered it. Sophia, the unofficial girl of our class. Jason put on a dopey grin. "Oh, sorry about that, Sophia. Total accident. Besides, a guy who sells his dignity for cash doesn't deserve a drink from you." Sophia just frowned. Jason, smug, clearly thought she'd be on his side. Instead, she snapped. "Are you out of your mind? There's nothing wrong with being flexible and working for what you want. David is just running a mile for someone. How? Is that selling his dignity?" She wasn't done. "And you're his brother. Even if you disagree, you could talk to him. Instead, all I hear is you trying to manipulate and put him down." She turned and walked toward the campus store. Just then, Landon appeared at the edge of the track. He saw the scene, pulled out his phone, and made a quick call. A few minutes later, a couple of guys from campus services arrived, carrying a huge cooler. "Drinks are on me, everyone. Help yourselves," Landon announced. Then, he walked over to me, pulled out a fancy-looking ice cream bar, and handed it to me as a thank you. The other students, unlike Jason, didn't overthink it. They swarmed the cooler. "Whoa, these are all imported. This bottle of sparkling water is like $10 online. Guess we have David to thank for this." A moment later, Sophia returned with a few of her friends, carrying a case of bottled water they'd bought themselves. She was trying to help me out without making a big deal of it. Smart and kind. Soon, nearly everyone on the field had a cold drink or ice cream. Everyone except Jason, who could only glare at me with pure venom. I, on the other hand, had an ice cream bar in one hand and a cold drink in the other. Life was good. Ding. Landon held up his phone, showing me the screen. "Just sent you the other 700. Jason went completely pale. "Thanks, boss," I said. "Anything else you need, just let me know. Actually, yeah, can you run over to the academic advisor's office and pick up a file for me? I'll Venmo you in a minute." "On it. And hey," he added, "just call me Landon." "You got it, boss." When I got back with the file, Jason was waiting for me at the bottom of the dorm stairs. He blocked my path. "He really paid you?" "Yep, $1,000. Every cent." "Move," I said. "I have to get this file up to Landon." Jason sneered. "One boss after another. You really enjoy being a slave, don't you? Mark my words, he gives you $1,000 this time to get you hooked, and then he'll expect you to do everything for free. And what would mom and dad say? You're here to study, remember? I believed that garbage in my past life, and it got me an early grave with an empty bank account. You're here to study too, so why are you always skipping class? At least I haven't failed anything. Can you say the same? Besides, I earned this money with my own 2 feet. Why would I give back?" Jason was stunned into silence by my barrage. Growing up, I had always been his yes man. If he told me to go east, I went east. The change was too much for him to handle. As I started to walk past him, he yelled at my back, "David, I'm asking you one more time, are you giving that money back or not?" He'd always been a control freak. The slightest thing not going his way sent him into a powerless rage. But even so, in our parents' eyes, he was the perfect son. I stopped and turned back. "If I give it back, will you finally split the $800 from mom and dad evenly with me?" He let out a cold laugh. "Yeah, so that's what this is about. Forget it. Mom and dad said you don't deserve that much. They put me in charge. So giving me $250 was supposed to be a favor. A familiar pang of sadness hit me, but I quickly pushed it away and hurried upstairs. Convinced he was about to witness Landon ripping me off, Jason ran up faster than I did, hopping on his top bunk to watch the show. But when I walked into the room and handed Landon the file, he immediately sent me another payment. $200. The whole room was staring. I could feel their eyes on me, a mix of envy, disdain, and maybe a little curiosity. I couldn't care less what they thought. We all die in the end. A fragile ego just makes for a more miserable death. Jason just grunted, shooting a hateful look at both me and Landon. That afternoon, since we had no classes, our roommate Alex came in carrying a cardboard box. "Hey guys," he said cheerfully. "My family sent some mangoes from back home. They're huge. One of these is a meal." He pulled one out and handed it to me. Landon was on his iPad, working on some kind of mind map. Without looking up, he said, "Just put them on the table." "How much?" "I'll Venmo you." Alex quickly waved his hands. No, it's on me. I'm treating you guys." In Landon's world, everything was a transaction. It's how he was raised. Even in buying drinks for the P.E. class was his way of compensating for the ridicule I'd endured on his behalf. But other people didn't see it that way, especially Jason. He bent down, grabbed a mango, and said, "Always got to use money to humiliate people. The guy does something nice, and you just ruin it. What? Only you're allowed to treat people. Us poor folk aren't good enough." He peeled it and started eating over the trash can, glaring at Alex. Alex's face went bright red. The friendly atmosphere vanished, replaced by awkward silence. Landon, as always, ignored Jason completely. He pulled out his phone and addressed Alex. "These look incredible, way better than what we get at home. Is $100 enough?" His tone was sincere, which helped ease Alex's embarrassment. But Alex shook his head. "Seriously, man, no money. It's a gift. And with the economy this year, my family is practically giving them away to distributors at a loss." "Oh," Landon said, hearing this. Jason seized the opportunity to stir the pot again. "See? He'd rather pay $100 just to shut you up." Alex hit decline on the Venmo request. "Just eat the mangoes. I'm sending the money back." Young guys have their pride, and Alex clearly felt disrespected. Jason, seeing his chance, pulled Alex out onto the balcony to whisper conspiratorially. He was trying to isolate me and Landon. While Alex didn't completely fall for it, his attitude toward Landon and me definitely cooled after that. Landon didn't care, and as someone on their second chance at life, I cared even less. Besides studying, my only focus was waiting for Landon's next gig. By the end of the week, my bank account was up another $2,000. Tonight, the dorm was quiet, everyone doing their own thing. Alex came back in from a phone call, his voice buzzing with excitement. "Landon, is Monarch Foods your family supermarket chain? They just bought out our entire town's fruit harvest for the whole year." His dad had just called ecstatic. Not only was this year's crop sold, but they had a contract for all of next year's as well. Landon paused his work and offered a polite smile. The quality of the mangoes was excellent. There was no hint of charity in his voice, just genuine appreciation for the fruits of their labor. Alex was visibly moved. Landon's habit of paying for everything was suddenly recontextualized. It wasn't about showing off. It was about convenience and a fair, respectful acknowledgement of others' work. It was Jason, with his constant attempts to turn people against us, who now seemed like the strange one. The other roommates he'd tried to win over started talking behind his back. "Landon's actually not a bad guy. His principles are way better than Jason's, right?" "Yeah, Jason is always trying to kiss up to people, but when something real happens, he's the first one to bail. I'll talk. Now that I think about it, David is the one who's got it all figured out." Jason and I reached the dorm room at the same time, and the conversation immediately died. Landon was just heading out. I took a step back to let him pass, and Jason rolled his eyes. Now, even basic courtesy was seen as sucking up. I woke up from a nap to the sound of Jason talking to two other guys from our hometown at our doorway. They used to be friendly with me, but lately, they'd been keeping their distance. Jason's propaganda machine was clearly working overtime. He pointed a thumb back toward Landon, who was at his desk. "That's him. The guy who bought my brother's dignity and manhood for a few $1,000s. It was 4,000. Actually, I corrected from my bed. I don't blame your brother, man," one of the guys said to Jason. "That's a lot of cash." "Yeah, I do it too," said the other. Jason was stunned. This was not the reaction he'd expected. He wasn't naive about the power of money, but he was so arrogant, he thought his opinions were universal. Landon ignored them and walked over to me. "Can you cover my elective for me tomorrow?" "No problem." Lately, because I was reliable, Landon had been coming to me directly. He thought for a moment. "Is 2,000 enough? You seem like you could use the money." He glanced down at my worn-out Nikes. Of course, a guy poised to take over a corporate empire would notice the small details. He saw that everything I wore was a hand-me-down from Jason. Before I could answer, Jason jumped in. "Some rich kids really think they're philanthropists. There are plenty of poor students at this school. Why don't you help all of them?" He gets at least $250 a month. At that, Landon, usually so composed, looked genuinely shocked. He said, how much? 250? How does anyone live on that? He turned to Jason. You guys are brothers, so does that mean you also? Landon was probably thinking our dorm was home to two of the most destitute students on campus. Jason was trapped. He didn't want Landon's pity, but he couldn't admit in front of our hometown friends that our parents played favorites. One of the guys at the door looked confused. Hey, that's not right. My dad was talking to your dad last month, and he said they send you guys $800 a month. The words hung in the air. Jason's face looked like death. Our dad was a retired teacher and obsessed with his reputation. If people found out he didn't treat his sons equally, he'd be mortified. Landon chuckled softly. I've heard of parents favoring sons over daughters, but I've never heard of them favoring one son over another son. He turned back to me. Tell you what, you can cover all my electives this semester. $10,000. A Venmo notification chimed through the silent room. Jason's face was ashen. The guys at the door, having seen enough, clapped him on the shoulder. I told you your brother wouldn't just turn into a bad guy overnight. Sounds like your own family push him into it. The other one added, besides, David's just being resourceful. You talk about it like he's selling his body or something. Lighten up. You're already getting the bigger cut. Don't try to block his hustle too. Jason stood frozen, looking like he was about to explode. Landon, with mock sincerity, asked him, $650 a month isn't a lot either. You need me to find some work for you. Jason's teeth were chattering with rage. Screw you. A small smile played on Landon's lips. It was only then that I realized how calculating he could be. Jason's anger was no longer just about his hatred for Landon. It was about the fact that I was completely out of his control. That night, the light from his phone screen glowed from under his blanket long into the early morning. He was probably too furious to sleep. The next day, he sent me a text. Don't say I didn't warn you. Chloe doesn't like guys like you. Chloe was the girl I'd had a crush on in my first life. This time around, I couldn't care less. I ignored the message and went back to studying. My non-reaction clearly infuriated him. He jumped out of bed, threw on a brand new outfit, and stormed out. After our evening class, Alex and I were walking near the campus green when we saw a familiar figure. And another one. It was Jason and Chloe. Alex was more outraged than I was. Dude, let's go over there and say something. Last semester, I'd bought Chloe gifts, which she'd accepted, and we'd gone out a few times. In any guy's book, that made us a pre-couple. But Chloe hadn't seen it that way. In my first life, when things fell apart, she'd screamed at me. When did I ever agree to be your girlfriend? I have like 10 guys on rotation, and you're the brokest of them all. Either stay a friend or get lost. This time, I didn't care what Chloe thought, but Jason was busy trying to convince her I was worthless. He'll do anything for a buck, Jason was saying. Someone will probably ask him to lick their shoes tomorrow, and he'll do it. Chloe looked skeptical. Is David really that bad off? He seemed pretty generous with the gifts he bought me. It's an act. He only gets $250 a month. Even if he gave it all to you, how much is that? And trust me, I know guys. Once you're actually with him, he won't treat you like this anymore. Chloe didn't seem to care about any of that. She just giggled, her hand landing on Jason's thigh. And what about you? Jason's voice trembled. I have more money than him. I have savings. I can buy you things. She covered his mouth with her hand. You don't have to tell me now. I judge by actions. Jason let out a dopey, lovesick chuckle. It was the sound of his bank account draining to zero. Alex was fuming beside me. I patted his shoulder. It's fine. Some people aren't worth the trouble. Let's go. You're not even going to confront them? A jerk and a gold digger? They're perfect for each other. Why would I get in the middle of that? To get the girl and let the jerk come after me? No thanks. In my first life, none of Chloe's orbiters had ended well. I just sit back and watch. Jason's good times were just beginning. After that night, Jason was glued to his phone, often playing Chloe's voice messages on speaker for the whole dorm to hear. You're probably the most well-rounded guy in your dorm, her voice cooed. David's too cheap, Alex is a total farm boy, Kevin has no style, and Mark is just creepy. Jason would hold his phone like a trophy, slowly panning his gaze across the room. But nobody cared about the opinion of a campus flirt. He got zero reaction. He seemed to think we were just hiding our jealousy, a smug grin plastered on his face. He texted her again. You forgot, Landon. Yeah, tell me what you think. Just curious. I'll take you out for a nice dinner tomorrow. He typed, a goofy smile on his face. Her reply came a moment later. Ugh, Landon has zero masculinity. He's my least favorite type. Jason shot a triumphant, challenging look at Landon. Landon just gave a slight curl of his lip. He was stingy in some ways. If he didn't respect you, he wouldn't even waste a facial expression on you. The very next day, as Landon and I were walking past the women's dorms, Chloe spotted us and started waving frantically, her pleated skirt riding dangerously high. She acted like I wasn't even there, her smile aimed solely at Landon. "Landon, you should come to my birthday party this weekend," she chirped. "Just the two of us." Her expression was meant to be shy and inviting. If Jason had seen it, he would have had an aneurysm. Landon smiled back. "And will you be wearing a skirt even shorter than that one?" Chloe blushed and gave a slight nod. Landon's smile widened, but his voice was ice cold. "I don't associate with people who are both stupid and cruel. It's bad for my family's feng shui." As we walked away, I glanced back at Chloe. She was standing there, utterly bewildered. "A girl like that doesn't even deserve respect, let alone affection," Landon said quietly. I realized then that he had done that for me. A true moment of justice. That night, Jason came back to the dorm complaining. "Can you believe it? $100 a person for a buffet? And they don't even give a student discount? It's ridiculous. Do all women these days think they're princesses?" Alex glanced at him from his desk. "You fought for that prize. Now you get to live with it." Jason was silent. For the rest of the semester, Jason poured money into Chloe while I earned it from Landon. By the time summer break started, I had saved nearly $15,000. I have no idea how much Jason had spent, but he had the nerve to ask me to buy his train ticket home for him. Last Christmas, our mom had let it slip that she was so proud of Jason for saving over $15,000 in his first year of college. $10,000 of that was money our parents had given him over the years, playing favorites as always. Jason was always better at sucking up, better at putting on a show, better at saying the right thing. I just told the truth and did the work. Mom and Dad always said I wasn't as clever as him and that they couldn't count on me to take care of them in their old age. "I don't have any spare cash," I said coldly. There was no way Chloe had drained his entire savings in just one semester. He glared at me with hatred, but eventually bought his own ticket and left a few days early. I stayed behind to help Landon move some things out of his dorm, earning another $1,000 in the process. When I finally got home, the first thing I heard was my parents and Jason in the living room complaining about me. They saw me walk in and immediately launched into a tirade, not even asking if I was hungry or helping with my heavy luggage. "David, have you no pride? Your father and I were respected teachers. Do you want the whole town laughing at us?" "Really, David," my mom added, "is the money we give you not enough?" I was too tired to argue and just went to the dinner table. Jason smirked. "He's like this at school too, Mom, Dad. Thinks he's latched onto some golden ticket and doesn't need to respect us anymore." I kept eating. My dad reached over and pulled my plate away. "Did we do something to wrong you? You're not eating another bite until you explain yourself." I slowly looked up at him. "Dad, you always said you treated us the same. So why is our allowance so different?" "Is that all this is about?" he said dismissively. "You'd embarrass the family name over something so petty. Over something so petty. All they cared about was their own image." Jason, seeing our dad was on his side, added, "You must have earned at least $10,000 this semester, right? You should give it to Mom and Dad to show you're sorry. Maybe then they won't be so angry." Hearing the amount, my parents' expressions shifted from anger to surprise, then to a flicker of greedy anticipation. I stood up and went to my room. In my first life, every penny I ever earned went to them, and every penny went to Jason. I'd already paid my debt for their loving upbringing with my life. This time, they wouldn't get a single cent. My silent protest was met with the silent treatment. They cooked just enough dinner for the three of them. I got so hungry late at night that I ordered some takeout. An hour later, it still hadn't arrived. I called the delivery driver, who said he'd dropped it off ages ago. I smelled the spicy noodles from the hallway. When I got to Jason's door, he was wiping grease from the corner of his mouth. "Why the hell did you eat my food?" He feigned innocence. "Oh, was that yours? I thought my girlfriend ordered it for me. Hey, I can ask Mom to get up and make you some ramen if you want." He was doing it on purpose. He knew damn well our mom would never get up in the middle of the night to cook for me. When we were kids, if he said he was hungry, she'd be in the kitchen in a second, no matter the hour. If it was me, she'd just tell me to eat some crackers. Fortunately, my rebirth had taught me not to have expectations for anyone, not even the parents who claim to love you more than anything. His words couldn't hurt me anymore. I just went to the kitchen and boiled a few eggs. Seeing how calm I was, Jason actually looked a little disappointed. The next morning, Landon called and invited me to his family's lake house for a month to help him with something. The pay, $15,000. Jason, who was nearby, overheard. He immediately yelled out, "Mom, Dad, David's about to become gay." My parents rushed out of their room. "What? Keep your voice down." Jason pointed at me. That rich kid Landon asked him to come to his private villa for a month. For 15 grand. "Instead of worrying about me," I said to Jason, You should worry about your own savings. I bet Chloe spent it all. Has she even officially called you her boyfriend yet? My parents were always frugal. The idea that Jason had spent over $10,000 on some girl made them sick. They both turned to him, demanding an explanation. She did, and she cares about me. She didn't spend all of it, he insisted, a total lovesick fool. My parents bought it, praising him for being so responsible, and then asked if he had enough money for his relationship. If you need more, just ask your dad, my father said. Bring her home soon. We want a big, healthy grandson before you graduate. I finally understood why they adored him so much. He always managed to hit their emotional buttons. Marriage and grandchildren were the ultimate performance metrics in our family. Just hearing he had a girlfriend, no matter her character, was enough for them to start planning the wedding. They slipped him some cash with beaming smiles, then shot me a look of pure disappointment. The next day, Jason and I both packed our bags. My parents told him to have fun with his girlfriend and to call if he needed money. They told me if I dared to go, they'd disown me. I walked out without looking back. 15 grand for a month. I'd happily wash Landon's feet every day for that kind of money. It was infinitely better than staying in that house. Landon sent a driver to pick me up. The lake house was enormous, with a main lodge and several other buildings for different activities. This place must cost a fortune to rent, I said. The driver chuckled. Yeah, which is why I missed her. Shaw just bought it. My poor imagination was once again the only thing holding me back. When I got there, I found 6 or 7 other people, a chef, housekeepers, security. I turned to Landon, confused. So, what am I supposed to do? Landon looked serious. My fitness level is terrible. You know all that stuff, right? Calisthenics, basketball, boxing basics from that gym class. Yeah, you're my personal trainer. Your job is to get me in shape. Done, I said. Consider it done. He put me in a guest room on the 2nd floor. It was immaculate, with a fully stocked mini fridge, a private bathroom, and even a massage chair. This was a hell of a lot better than home, with no one breathing down my neck. At dinner, Landon asked if my family would be upset that I wasn't home for the summer. I laughed. They won't say anything to me. That's good. They'll just complain about me. Landon was silent for a moment. I guess it's common for some parents to have kids, but not know how to love them. I wasn't born to them, I said deadpan. They found me in a basket on their doorstep. My attempt at dark humor just made him feel worse for me. He pointed to the TV. You want to play some video games? It was kind of funny. He was so earnest, he'd believe anything I said. The month flew by. Landon was happy with my training. He'd gained 10 pounds of muscle. His mom even called to thank me personally, and right after we hung up, I got a Venmo notification for a $10,000 bonus from her. All in all, I made almost $40,000 from Landon. Before I left, he handed me a set of keys. There's still a month of summer left. This place will be empty. You can stay here. I shook my head. It's too far from the city. I was planning on getting a summer job, and the commute would be a killer. Landon thought for a second, then called his driver over. Give him the keys to the Audi I bought in Charleston. He turned back to me. Just keep the place clean. I'll give you another 15 grand when school starts. A home like that, he added, is better left behind. Damn, he really thought I was adopted. My parents had called twice during the month, and both calls had ended in screaming matches. I just scratched my head. Thanks, Landon. You're a really good guy. He rolled his eyes. Don't say that. I'm going to be a ruthless capitalist someday. I found a part-time job at a local coffee shop. It was way harder than working for Landon, but I knew a patron like him was a rare find. I had to get used to living a normal life again. Near the end of August, during a blistering heat wave, the streets were mostly empty. But for some reason, a crowd had gathered outside the hospital across the street. I took a closer look while delivering an order. As our eyes met, I almost didn't recognize the girl. It was Chloe. She wasn't wearing any makeup and had a mask on, but her voice was unmistakable. Who else could it be? We hooked up last month. Are you trying to deny it now? It looked like she'd just had an ultrasound. The guy she was yelling at was scruffy and belligerent. He took a step back. Don't pin this on me. You have a whole roster of guys. Why are you so sure it's mine? I wore a condom. The crowd was getting bigger. I slipped away before Chloe could spot me. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was a text from her, asking if I was just near the city hospital because she saw a barista who looked a lot like me. I didn't reply, answering that would only invite more trouble. I checked Jason's social media. Half a month ago, he'd posted a link to his sad breakup song, and nothing since. Looks like Chloe had finally bled him dry. A few days later, my summer job ended. I went home to grab my stuff for the new semester. As I opened the door, I heard Chloe's voice. It's yours, Jason. Now you have to figure out how to get me money for the abortion. Her voice was thick with tears. I froze at the door, not sure whether to go in or leave. I decided to wait. Jason's voice trembled. How much? How much is it? 2,000. I Googled it. It only costs like 1,000. You're still trying to scam me, even now. Scam you? Chloe shrieked. When have I ever scammed you? You're the father of this baby. How can you say something so hurtful? Okay, I'm sorry, but I don't have $2,000 right now. That trip we took cost me over 10 grand, and I'm already 15,000 in debt from payday loans. Then go get another loan. Chloe screamed. Jason finally snapped. Loan my ass. Chloe burst into tears. Jason scrambled to comfort her. Don't cry, baby, let's just get back together. Of course we have to get back together. Who else is going to go with me to the clinic? Maybe you don't have to. You could have the baby. Go to hell, Jason, you son of a bitch. The stream of curses that came out of her mouth was truly impressive. If it weren't for Jason, I never would have heard such colorful language from such a seemingly delicate girl. The shouting brought my parents rushing home. I slipped in behind them. When they found out Chloe was pregnant, they were overjoyed. The scene quickly turned into 3 of them ganging up on one, trying to convince Chloe to have the baby. Chloe's pretty face contorted with rage. Are you people insane? Take a good look at yourselves. Jason is a broke loser who's deep in debt. And you want me to have his baby? What do you take me for? Before Jason could cover her mouth, she bit his hand hard. My mom, seeing Jason hurt, flew into a rage and slapped Chloe across the face. Chloe, fearless, shoved my mom to the ground. The scene devolved into chaos. My dad pinned Chloe's arms while my mom pulled her hair, and Jason, his eyes red with fury, slapped her again and again. Screams and shouts filled the house. Through the window, I could see neighbors gathering on their lawns. Nothing like a good scandal to bring the neighborhood together. Jason dragged Chloe into his bedroom, and the sounds of slapping and screaming continued from behind the closed door. I couldn't tell who was hitting whom anymore. After shooing the neighbors away, my dad came into my room, wringing his hands. David, how much money do you have? You see the situation we're in. Could you maybe help out your brother? When I didn't answer, my mom joined in. David, please, just 10,000. We only need 10,000. Your father and I will figure out the rest. I picked up my pack bags. No money. Can't help. Gotta go. My dad's face hardened. He blocked the door. That money came easy to you. Why can't you use it to help your family? He's your brother, David, my mom pleaded. How can you be so heartless? Look, once he pays off these loans and this girl gives him a son, your father and I will focus all our attention on you. My money came easy, and another empty promise. It was just like my first life. My trust in them, then, was the starting point of my demise. This time, I pushed past them and walked out, ignoring their craze yelling behind me. Back at school, I ran into Landon in the dorm. He pulled out his phone and sent me the 15,000 he'd promised. For once, Jason didn't say a word. He looked exhausted, his face gaunt. Chloe hadn't shown up for the semester, and a rumor was going around that she was missing. When nosy classmates asked Jason about it, he'd first try to dodge the question. But eventually, if someone brought her up, he'd snap. We weren't even dating. Why should I care if she's gone? My parents still called occasionally, either demanding or threatening me to get money for Jason's loans. I refused every time. Landon kept giving me work just like before. He even got me a part-time job as a junior strategist at his family's company. When I got there, I was surprised to find Sophia. She was one of the most brilliant marketing students in our program, so it made sense that Landon had recruited her as a sophomore. Now, she and Landon's girlfriend co-managed the strategy department. I was technically her subordinate, but she never looked down on me and was always incredibly supportive. News that a sophomore was a department head at a major corporation spread like wildfire on campus. A salary of at least $5,000 a month? Of course, everyone was talking about it. Jason started trying to get close to Sophia, laying on the charm thick. But he was broke, so his grand romantic gesture was bringing her a bagel every morning. He was convinced that Sophia, who didn't seem materialistic, would be won over by his persistence. He was gambling, of course. Gambling that Sophia was the type of girl who would bankroll her boyfriend. But I'd seen her at work. She was rational, sharp, and professional. She wasn't stupid. After 2 weeks of her politely declining his bagels, he was getting desperate. I knew he was watching the interest on his loans pile up, spending his nights sleeplessly scrolling on his phone. One day, Landon paid me $500 to cover a class for him. Jason saw the payment notification. He cornered me on the balcony when no one was around. Can you let me take that gig? I smiled. Sure. His face lit up. You're the best, man. Brothers to the end. $25, right? I'll Venmo you after the class. Jason froze, his face contorting with rage. But just then, another roommate walked in, and he swallowed his anger. He wanted the money, but couldn't stomach the humiliation. So much for all his talk about dignity. I never thought he'd stoop so low as to go to Landon directly. He told Landon that I had a rare, undiagnosed medical condition that could cause sudden death. He warned Landon that if I dropped dead while running one of his errands, Landon would be responsible. Later, in front of the whole dorm, Landon asked me, "David, are you sick?" I looked at him, completely baffled. "Sick? What are you talking about?" "I'm fine." Listening to our exchange, Jason looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "Your brother must really care about you," Landon said with a perfectly straight face, to make up such a crazy, morbid rumor. The room, which had been silently observing the drama, erupted in laughter. "Well," Landon added, his eyes twinkling, "I guess this shows us who's really desperate for money." It was a kill shot. Landon was a master of subtle savagery. 2 sentences were all it took to make Jason vanish from the room without another word. We didn't see Jason for days after that. Then, someone mentioned seeing him buy a knife at a flea market. He was broke, desperate, and cornered. That was a dangerous combination. I told Landon about Jason's debt and to be careful. Landon just laughed. A guy like him? He doesn't have the guts to kidnap me. Landon, as usual, was right. Jason didn't have the guts to go after him. He went after Sophia. But just as he pulled a knife out to threaten her, he realized I was standing right behind him. I gave Sophia a quick nod. The moment she sidestepped, I delivered a flying kick that sent Jason sprawling. He looked up, saw it was me, and his eyes went wild. He scrambled to his feet and charged at me with the knife. He took 2 steps, then froze. He turned and sprinted in the opposite direction. Several police officers were running right toward him. It wasn't about the payday loans. It was about illegal imprisonment. Jason was the primary suspect, and my parents were accessories. They found Chloe in a small, dilapidated cabin in the woods. Her eyes were vacant, her spirit broken. I never would have imagined the 3 of them were capable of something so insane. I thought Chloe's parents would press charges and send Jason and my parents to prison, but they chose to accept a financial settlement instead. My parents were ecstatic. They quickly sold the small convenience store they ran and paid them off. Even more shocking, Chloe's parents then calmly asked Jason if he still wanted to marry her. Hearing this, Chloe seemed to snap out of her stupor. Her eyes blazed as she screamed that she'd rather have the abortion than marry Jason. "You don't have a say in this anymore," her father yelled, slapping her so hard across the face that her expression went from furious back to vacant. She started to laugh, a hollow, defeated sound of resignation and regret. After everything was settled, Jason returned to school to file for a leave of absence. As he was leaving, he saw Sophia waiting for me outside the dorm, holding a lunchbox she'd made. Just then, Landon walked up and asked if I had enough for a down payment on a house yet, offering to lend me some if I needed it. Sophia smiled sweetly. "If he agrees to be with me, I can cover half." Yes, I have no idea what cosmic lottery I won, but Sophia had been secretly in love with me for half a year. In her confession text, she said it was because I was level-headed, driven, and wasn't vain or obsessed with competing with everyone like other guys. Jason just stood there, watching it all unfold. I have no idea what was going through his mind as he finally walked away from the school. My parents finally gave up on asking me for money. They barely called for the next year. It wasn't until senior year that my dad called, asking if I could come home sometime to see my nephew. I brought Sophia with me. My parents were so flustered by her, they could barely speak. She was beautiful, poised, kind, and incredibly classy. A stark contrast to Chloe, who was in the yard, chasing a screaming, pantsless little boy. Jason just stared at us, silent. I looked away toward the boy. The evening sun lit up his small face, and for a second, it merged with another face in my memory. The face of the man from the hospital, the one who had screamed at Chloe that she was a slut. Just then, a neighbor with a reputation for being a little slow wandered by. He pointed at the child and laughed. "Doesn't look like him." "Nope, not a bit like Jason." "Get out of here," my dad yelled, chasing him off. It was only then I realized this was common town gossip. Everyone was saying the boy looked nothing like Jason. Before Sophia and I left, Jason stopped me. He asked if I could take him and the boy to a clinic for a DNA test. A while later, I got a call from my parents. Jason was in jail. The test had come back, confirming the child wasn't his. In a rage, he had beaten Chloe so badly a neighbor had to call the police. Though Chloe's parents had essentially sold her to Jason, seeing her battered and knowing the child wasn't his, they couldn't let her and the boy stay at my parents' house any longer. They took them both away. My parents seemed to age 10 years overnight. Jason wouldn't be getting out for a long time. I checked them into an assisted living facility. I'd done all I could. After graduation, Sophia and I got married. We moved into our new home, got promotions at work, and enjoyed the luck and happiness that this world should have offered me all along.